you're good.
The clock's. All right, bring this special call meeting together on to discuss our budget. One would approve our agenda, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Moving right along, our public hearing for our budget for 26, 27. Somebody need to put us into the public hearing, please.
I make a motion that we enter the public hearing to approve the budget.
Need a second.
I'll second it.
Discussion on the public hearing. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. All right, you get time, we'll let staff present.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just for a brief second here, we're going to wait for the presentation to come up. This presentation should look familiar. So not too much has changed, obviously, since the last presentation, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking through it, but again, this is the opportunity to see the budget one final time, ask any questions that you all have, and ultimately decide whether or not this is the budget that you see the town in and see yourselves in with your requests for FY 2027. And so if council may choose at the end of the day today to either approve the agenda, approve the budget, approve their budget with modifications based off of conversations, or again, table it to a future meeting. Now, as a reminder, the state of North Carolina did require us to make sure that we have a budget that is balanced and passed by July 1st, 2026. So we'll be working through that if that need arises. So today, as a reminder, this is the public hearing. This is another one of the requirements by the state of North Carolina, which allows the community to come out and speak, ask questions, provide feedback on the proposed budget.
Yeah, it's coming out of the. We can hear it, the
All right,
volume.
give me one quick sec. Mike, can you control it from back there? Okay. So let's go ahead and go through, Mike, and we'll just talk through this. Okay, I now have control. Yep, we're good. All right. So again, as a reminder, we're just going to talk through briefly what the budget looks like based off of your direction so far to date. And the one thing that, again, we're going to continue hitting home this year and for years to come is the vision, mission, and values that you all of council has set, and that our goal is to put into practice the vision of the town of Mills River is that it preserves, sustains, and cultivates community. The mission of the town of Mills River is to foster community well-being, and we do so by adhering to the three, what I would call those three key values: respect, service, and integrity. There are many other values that we embody every day, but again, those are the three that rise to the top. There you go. Thanks, Mike. All right, click back there. June 16th is today, the public hearing, potential budget adoption. Again, we're getting close to that July 1st date. We hope to see that all the changes and conversations we've had to date are reflected in this latest version. As I mentioned, there's nothing that has changed from the current version within the book from May 28th. However, there is going to need to be a discussion for council to discuss regarding other actions by other local governments, the county, and in other municipalities and the county itself, their actions that have impacted our budget. And so we do have a slide to talk about that. But as of right now, everything you're going to see moving forward is still the same as what you saw on the May 28th meeting. Right? There we go. And our town services, these are the ones that we provide, and the ones in bold are the 5 that are a part of our requirement with the state. The 5 that we must adhere to: fire protection, law enforcement, planning and zoning, street lighting, and street maintenance. Your strategic direction, council, is reflected within the vision, mission, and values that we just talked about, as well as the 6 goals that were adopted in January of this year. Those goals, again, you should see those reflected throughout this document, and if not, please ask. We want to make sure that your vision is seen within this document. The strategic plan, once you get to the goals, then we really have to operationalize them. And those operationalized elements are a part of the objectives that you see here in front of you. I know it's small, but these are the objectives that you all, again, adopted earlier this calendar year that, again, we looked at for the FY27 budget and also FY27 through FY31 when we looked at our 5-year financial forecast. We've already talked through what a strategic operating plan is, but ultimately it's the budget and then itself. It's the budget and also a roadmap for how we're going to be looking at the budget, not just next year, but the next 5 years. It ensures transparency. It ensures organizational performance excellence, and it ensures sound fiscal policy. It is not locking you in again to the next 5 years. What we're going to be talking about later on is potential how we're going to get over the next 5 years, what the potential tax rate is, the implications, the direction, priorities, projects that you all have set forward. However, we're only tonight talking about the FY27 budget. That is what locks you in for the budget adoption this year. That tax rate and the revenues and expenditures. That's what we're talking about tonight. Areas of focus, there are 3 areas. Again, we've talked about these before, but really within the goals are attract, retain, and cultivate an engaged workforce, foster recreational opportunities for all ages and abilities, and to enhance community development. Those are the 3 objectives that you all identified as the highest priorities to look at for FY27. And I believe that we have met those expectations within the budget before you. So the FY27 budget, again, as before, currently maintains the property tax rate of 17 cents. It is a 2.49% increase over FY26. The tax rate has changed just slightly again over the time that we've been looking at that. It moved up to approximately $234,000. That is rounded down. The focusing on financial health, again, is always going to be our focus here. Sound fiscal policies, fiscal responsibility is the #1 goal that we have when putting together this budget, and also making sure that we've stated your policy and strategic direction. Julie, would you like to talk us through this slide?
Sure. So if you remember on May 28th, our total revenues for property taxes were $4.2 million. Our intergovernmental revenues is $2.3 million, and that includes all your state shared revenues, your sales tax, your sales tax, your franchise tax, all of those. The ABC tax are included there. The grant specific revenues, that $2.9 million, are your FEMA projects. That also includes the OSBM grant for the tennis courts. The permits and fees, that is the planning and zoning department. And sales and services is your parks and recreation, because they have a service piece to their rental fees. The other operating revenues is other miscellaneous revenues, including Mills River Day donations. The estimate on the interest income is the $300,000, and your other tax and licenses, that is the ABC privilege license. So that total is $9.9 million. And then we have $1.7 million that we're going to use of our capital reserves for capital projects. And then this budget that was presented was going to appropriate $458,000 of fund balance to balance the budget against the expenses and those capital items that we included in this budget presentation.
Yeah, so right now it's just over with general fund revenues and other financing sources, just over $12.1 million. When looking at the expenditures, these are the assumptions that we built in. Again, we kept the merit at 3%. The merit pay raises budgeted at 3%, knowing that the expected ranges are between 1 and 3. Cost of living at 2.69%. That is within the range of many of our other municipalities in and around the area that use similar formulas that we do. We do not include any new FTEs, but we have talked about before updates in position promotions as identified through training and development work, as well as new needs within the organization to be able to leverage our staff in the best way possible, as well as additional hours for the part-time weekend park ranger position. And this is just trying to meet the expectations and the needs of our community as they continue to use the park. And we want to make sure we maintain it in the best way possible and continue to attract the best when it comes to our weekend park ranger positions. Health insurance is still at 100% covered for employee health, dental, and vision. This is a large increase. It has not changed. 24.5% premiums over the FY26 premiums. This is something, again, that just as an aside, we're starting conversations in July because we know that this is not a sustainable model. We know that this is for this year. However, we're looking at what alternatives are for next year, starting next year. Retirement contribution is still at 5% 401k town contribution and 15.18 town contribution to elders, which is now
15.19.
it is now, yeah, when we look at it, the 0.08, which is the death benefit that is there, it's actually went up. Then we just heard about this, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, yesterday. It's a 0.09 instead of 0.08. So the very slight change in there, and that'll be. Julie, would you like to talk through the budget overview?
Sure. So the total budgeted expenditures are the same as May 28th, of $12.1 million. The largest portion of that, again, is the 4.9 million in capital projects, which includes all of the FEMA projects that we have slated, plus phase 1 of the park expansion and the maintenance facility build and upfit of the current facility. $298,000 of debt service, which includes the Johnston property, plus the first repayments of the 2 cash flow loans from the state General Assembly grant is included in that $298,000. The other large expenses are, of course, in your the biggest increase there is economic development, where you added in the $25,000 in EIF funds. And then you'll see a increase in tax collection, but that's because we are allocating more of our administrative position to tax. So that's why that shows a large increase. It's not because of other things. It's just because we're moving instead of 25%, 50% of her wages to help cover the additional tax collection duties that she's going to take over.
So here are the operating expenditures that as we've projected so far. Again, as of right now, about $7.6 million when it comes to total general fund expenditures and other financing uses in the FY27 budget, and approximately $4.5 million when it comes to FEMA and other major capital projects that we've discussed throughout the budget cycle. There have been no additional changes that are part of this discussion. And again, that's why the expenditures match the revenues. So the budget is balanced. That is before you here at 12.108, $320, right? So $12,108,320. Capital projects, again, are very similar to what, they're the exact same as what we had before. Again, the 4.9 million, almost $5 million total on capital projects, by far the majority of that on FEMA related projects. And then also you can see the park expansion and the maintenance facility under the Parks and Recreation section as well. That's allocated for FY27. Paving under streets and highways at 360,000. We do expect to be able to use quite a large portion of that would be from POW bill funds. But then we do know that there are going to be additional funds that are necessary that POW bill won't cover, just because, again, the restrictions that are around it. But we are excited about that project as well. We know the council, you all have requested that, and we're excited that we're able to build it in for this year. Any questions about capital projects? And ultimately, as we talked about before, making sure we have a healthy fund balance to make sure that we're ready and prepared to answer any unknown situation that's coming before us. Your council has a policy of between 65 and 75%. Right now, as you can see, after the FY 27 projections, we are currently at 98.7%. Well, sorry, we're at 98.7% of the necessary requirement of this, keeping the 75%. So we're still in a healthy location. As you can see, we're projecting a little over 6.6 million in available fund balance, where the requirement would be just over 5.7 million in order to meet the minimum requirement. So we are feeling comfortable there. Or actually, that's the maximum requirement of 75%. Anything else on this?
No, sir.
All right. But this is the big conversation that has changed since May 28th. And so I'm going to turn over to Julie here in a second, but I just want to provide very quickly an update. We did talk about this very briefly at the last meeting, but the Henderson County, when we look at sales tax allocations, you have two different ways that you can allocate sales tax. You can either by population or by the percentage based off the ad valorem levy. Henderson County uses the ad valorem levy as its and percentage of as its distribution model. And so what that means is that in certain circumstances, when there are when the ad valorem levy value changes because of property tax rates change, there's a trickle down effect. The county raised their property tax by 4 cents,
4.3.
4.3 cents. And because of that, that now has a trickle down effect on sales tax distribution across municipalities. Fletcher has already taken up that their discussion around the budget. They increased their budget by 0.5 cent in order to cover the difference in the sales tax revenue that was going forward. Hendersonville delayed their discussion on the budget until June 25th. Obviously, they are the largest municipality. We're not sure, obviously, what they're going to be reacting to on that, but we have taken into some assumptions on what that potentially could look like. And then obviously it trickles down to Mills River, Laurel Park, Flat Rock, and Saluda. And so the question before, and so actually I'm going to take a pause there. Julie, fill in the gaps.
So what we have tried to provide you here is what that impact of the county's 4.3% increase and Fletcher's known 0.5 cent increase to total their total increase of 3 cents, is they were going to go to from 1.5 they went to 2. So they went up 2 total cents. The county went up 4.3 cents. I know that Hendersonville is looking at a 2 cent increase. We will not know what their decision is until after June the 25th. And so what I have tried to provide you here is what that implication would do to the town's share of distributions from sales tax based on what we know today. So currently we get 2.58% of the county's distribution of sales tax for Mills River. And based on what we know with the increase in the county, Fletcher, and a projected increase in the city of Hendersonville, our allocation would drop by 16, and that would be 100 thousandths, 16 thousandths of a percent. But that equals about 98,000 to 120,000, depending on what the city of Hendersonville does. And so what we have provided here is if we raise the property tax rate by 0.5 cent, that will get us to 2.48% from the 2.41. If we raise the property tax rate a whole penny, then that puts us almost where we were right now. Puts us back to the 2.5, not 2.58, but 2.56 of where we were for this fiscal year. So we've tried to estimate what that would do on our sales tax implications in this presentation here, and showing you that if we do nothing, we will lose 0.16 of a percent difference. And then if we do a half or a whole cent, then we can keep our sales tax where we currently are or close to it.
Yeah, and so right now you're looking at two different things. You're looking at one, the distribution model, right? Where no tax increase versus a half a cent and 1 cent, getting back closer to that 2.57% distribution model. There's also the raw dollar amount that exists, right? And so, Julie, when we're looking at this, help orient us. How much are we projected to lose? on
So
sales tax
if we do no increase in our property tax rate, we will lose about $100,000 in sales tax revenues. If the city of Hendersonville does a little bit more, then we could lose $120,000 in our sales tax revenues.
Yes, and so really what the question is here is if there's no property tax increase, and again, right now, this is for discussion, there's no recommendation as of this moment, but the idea of no property tax increase, what that would do essentially is, well, you have a couple of options, right? First option is you cut the budget by about $100,000 to $120,000. The other option is to pull from fund balance. So one of the things that we have talked about throughout this process is from my seat, good governance one-on-one is that you don't want to borrow from the fund balance to cover for operating expenditures. If you do, there better be really good reasons why, because obviously fund balance will run out at some point and operating is operating, right? They're not one-time capital expenses. We feel comfortable this year with the current amount being moved over because, again, majority of that is based off of what the state requires us to take in to account for when it comes to vacation payouts, right? And in my opinion, if everybody leaves tomorrow, and so therefore we have to do, that vacation payout, that's one of the reasons why the fund balance exists, because that's an emergency situation, right? This would be for that to cover that difference would be for operating. And so that's a harder sell from my seat when it comes to borrowing against fund balance for operating. The half a cent, what that would do is essentially would split between, that would increase the property tax revenue, right? Overall property tax as well as the motor vehicle tax. And then we would project down the sales tax revenue, right, at that portion. And then the third option would be, again, from the 1 cent perspective, that gets you back up to the higher end of the percent, back closer to the percentage model, which means we'd actually be borrowing less from fund balance by about 100,000. So right now we're looking at 458,000. It'd be essentially having to only move $358,000 fund balance. So the half a cent, in other words, is probably the middle ground, right? Increase property evaluation a little bit, you decrease your sales tax revenue projections approximately 50,000 on both sides. You are the budget is balanced based off of what we had at 12.1. The fund balance amount stays the same approximately at the half a cent.
Goes down about 20,000.
Yeah, about 20,000. So it's really close to in that model.
Okay. If y'all don't mind me butting in a little bit. So I hear a bunch of numbers, and what I would like to know, what amount, how much is the sales tax for the county? What is that number we're talking about? I know that 0.0167 equals about $100,000. What is that number we're talking about? How much sales tax comes in from the
So
county?
for the town of Mills River,
Mm-hmm,
we have received this year
mm-hmm.
right at $1.6 million
Okay, so $1.6 million.
is our 2.58%.
Okay.
What were we budgeted for this year?
1.5.
Okay, so we're
So one of the other things just to mention briefly is that if we had used a modeling system, a projection system that I would just say that, well, I think we have used it in the past, but also others have used in the past. The gap is actually bigger. So we were actually using a more conservative model this year. And so actually the gap is smaller because of that. So that's why there's only $100,000 between what we originally showed you and now. And that was just because we changed our own projections.
Based on the league's
Yeah,
recommendation.
based off of the league's, yeah.
Okay, so sales tax money, that $1.6 million. That does not go into the daily operation. That is our property taxes, correct? Our 17 cents, what's left over, the 4 point something million dollars, which covers our street lights, our agreement with the fire department, with sheriff's department, et cetera. Is that correct?
So your property taxes don't cover 100% of
Right,
the core services. So the sales tax makes up that shortfall, which is about $97,000.
Okay. So we're about 97,000 from covering our expenses based on property taxes.
For
S-
those core services only.
For those core services
Mhm.
only. Okay.
So can you walk me through how Henderson County or whoever comes up with taxes go up, property taxes go up, sales revenue goes down?
Okay, so if you see on this screen here, because the county chooses ad valorem levy, which
Mhm.
is the amount that they bring in, instead of population, if they chose the population, you would see that their share of revenue would only be 75% of the sales tax that's collected for the county versus the 80%. So, so they get to choose how that is distributed. That is the county's direction and their option to choose whether it's population or ad valorem levy. So when their levy amount goes up against the total, their percentage will increase because their rate per 100 is more. So it's based on the levy value, not the valuation. It's the dollar amount of the levy.
You go up in Mills River, you have to pay all of those.
Yeah. So if we
Mhm.
go up, our percentage, our levy value goes up because Fletcher's increased theirs, their levy value goes up. And we are anticipating since, the city of Hendersonville pulled theirs from being approved, that they're also going to increase their levy, which will then reduce others, if they do not follow suit in doing something similar.
It might be
But-
on here, but so what's this year's levy? The 2.4 something?
So, based on the numbers that we had as of May 18th, Mills River's levy is 4.2 million.
Yeah, that 4.28 number, that's right there.
That's on there for the
Okay.
no increase.
And just for clarification, we have not had any communication directly with Hendersonville around their work. It's merely by looking at what others have done. What we
And the
suspect,
Hendersonville Lightning ad.
yeah, and the
article.
Hendersonville Lightning article is why we're at least looking at a projection where where they may be considering an increase for that reason. Correct.
So if we raise it a point, or 1 cent, we're speculating it'll go to 2.562% of the overall allocation.
2.55 is what my
2.55.
estimate is.
55. And that big number that it's all coming from, that big number, the total for the whole county is about how much, do you know that? I mean, and it's the math, I could do it.
Looks like it's, 158 million, that's one,
Yes,
158.07.
Okay, sorry.
that's the
yes.
current levies. And then what I have done
That's
on
the current tax levies.
correct, in the blue.
That's
And then
tax money.
based on the county's report that we received for May 18th, that's the new numbers based on the numbers that we know for Fletcher and the county.
Mhm.
But how much sales tax does the county get?
They, based on, the current levies, they get 80% of what's collected.
How much sales tax is paid and allocated to Henderson County?
Um,
It's a big number.
it is a big
It's a
number.
real big number.
It's a real big number.
26.
So if we get 2.5, if we get 1.6 million of-
Yeah.
and ours is 2.5 of that, divide that by,
Fortunately, I've got a Hewlett Packard.
because I don't have my calculator with me.
But it is speculation, knowledgeable speculation, but Henderson County continues to grow, so sales tax,
And we know that
total
their,
dollars will go up.
their total has increased,
Yeah.
4.3 cents, and Fletcher's went up 2 cents.
$62 million. Does that
That's
sound about
probably
right?
very close. Yes, sir.
So that's how much money's in the pot. And we get 2.58% of it now.
Yes.
But in a year, later on, we're not gonna get that much.
Right.
Assuming it stays at 62 million.
Right.
So,
If we do nothing, we will
Mhm.
lose 0.16%, which
yeah,
equates to about 98 to $108,000.
based on the 62 million.
Correct.
If we can get people to go out and buy.
And
Still,
that number goes up.
but it's not
Well, that's what I'm
going up
saying,
that much.
it's a little shaky because
Yeah.
the economy is, we're not in a, Henderson County's not,
We're not in a
we're growing,
recession.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's conservative, because that's what y'all do. Because you want us to be pleasantly surprised.
Correct.
Not unpleasantly surprised when it comes to write the check to cover the bill.
Yeah, I don't think we should test those waters,
Right,
but
right.
it is $100,000 this year, and there's,
And
it is a
it
conservative
gets
decision.
readjusted every year
Okay.
based on valuation and how that affects the levy value.
Again, this is the budget, right? Actuals, we have seen over the years that sales tax continues to beat projections because we are conservative within that number. Because there's just this general feeling that, numbers continue to go up at some point, numbers are going to start to flatten out. It's just naturally that happens. We haven't really seen that too much as of right now, but that's why we continue to use a conservative projection on this. So again, good governance one-on-one is to make sure that we at least bring this change to you all, bring the rationale for what you all are saying. But ultimately, it's your decision on what you think the budget should be for FY27, knowing that we won't know actuals until way,
September.
yeah, exactly right. And so that's the difficulty around budgeting around these projections.
but didn't we also do the FEMA at 75%? We won't know that for a year, so,
Yes, sir.
essentially we could win big or lose big.
I'm projecting we're gonna win big.
Well,
when it
yeah,
comes to
that's
FEMA,
what I'm
but
saying.
but we're not gonna put, but I'm not putting that into writing in the budget.
I'm just saying it would be easier sale if that was true. We only got 75% of FEMA, then it's like, okay, well, we're really behind.
Mhm.
That's my personal take.
Right now, the budget, right now that one, when we're talking about 75% as well, we're really talking about the North Loop and the reimbursement on that, that being $1 million, just slightly over $1 million, you're looking at just slightly over $250,000 that we haven't budgeted in because we're unsure exactly how FEMA will react to all those pieces. So to your point, would that cover the difference, right? If that came back at 85, 90%, yes, it's hard to predict.
Yeah, but you've done a good job with that, and we've done
Absolutely.
that exactly how it should have been done.
Yes, sir.
So,
And you said that we're already at a surplus on this year with the sales tax collection.
We're over what we originally budgeted. Yes, sir.
How much over?
I won't know that exact number till September because it always runs 3 months in arrears. But I would say at least $100,000.
Is it still considered a balanced budget if we know this information and we pass it as is? How does that work?
Well, it would still be, we would just allocate within the budget, an additional approximately $100,000 from fund balance into that line item to balance the budget. And so again, it's a budgeting practice question for you all to decide on, because we can make good arguments for that the original money in there for not covering a lot of, in most, if any, operating expenses. This one would be essentially us saying that we're predicting, like very conservatively, but predicting needing some fund balance to help with operational costs.
But if the additional 100,000 that we didn't budget from sales tax from last year comes in, is that still last year's money that can't be shown in this year's budget?
Right.
Or would that money
It would-
transfer into
It would
fund
go into
balance
fund
and
balance.
we would then take back out for
Mhm.
this year?
Yeah.
So we're using that money, but we have to show it not as income this
Right.
year. We would show it as
An
income
appropriation.
last year,
Yes.
and then it would cover that appropriation this year.
And we'd still be at the 98%. So,
And ultimately, it's a conversation where, again, going back to the percentages, right? We work under an understanding of where if things stay relatively normal, we're about that 2.5, 2.57%, as you see here. Just because of actions has changed that percentage. So the question is also, are you all comfortable with that lower projection of the percentage going forward? Or are we trying to keep it level as much as possible from current year to future year?
not specifically on this, but do we know what's gonna be on the ballot in November? Is that like how that's gonna be written?
Oh, around any potential actions on property tax caps
Mm-hmm.
or any property tax rates. I have not seen any language that it may be out there, but I have not seen it.
But you wouldn't, professionally speaking, you wouldn't say that we're like really handcuffing ourselves going into that. You don't think it's gonna be written like the town of Mills River can't raise their taxes more than 0.5% at a time?
Yeah, legally, the state of North Carolina, it's my understanding is that it's unconstitutional for them to call out any particular local government to
Okay.
handcuff that. So it would be something that would be across the board. So I can't speak on whether or not there would be a lot of, or how it would be written and whether or not they would provide the flexibility that would be needed. All I can say is right now it would have to be blanket. Some kind of I would expect it to be some type of blanket language across the state. And it's really hard to predict what that would look like. It really is. Now, and if it's okay, I would like to just turn to Brian, the attorney, just to make sure if there's anything that he's heard or is aware of when it comes to.
No, I was just looking right now to see if there was any updates. So I couldn't find.
Okay. Yeah,
So more than likely, it would just be like a blanket percentage.
it'd be a percentage, it could be a cap, it could be a cap of, it could be a,
It could
And-
be a population increase
Mhm.
cap. If you have no population increase, you may be limited.
exactly right. There are a multitude of ways that it could be written.
But we won't
Yeah.
know that until,
We won't know. The only other thing I'll just mention is the 5-year forecast. There is the discussion of a potential tax rate increase next year. Again, not taking into account any revaluation. If we are able to do a reval next year, again, that's also up in the air. Is that or implement the reval? That it would be 17 cents this year and 18 cents moving into FY 28. Again, depending on what it's on the ballot, depending on whether or not we have the ability on the reval, all of those things will change that recommendation or that projection. But yeah, that's the only other thing to mention.
why is there an asterisk by Saluda?
Because Saluda is actually in 2 counties.
Mhm.
And that's the state's way of earmarking that Saluda is in another county as well.
I think they should do Saluda's off population.
So that's the thing. So technically Polk County,
Polk County does do theirs off of population.
but if I were a betting person, it's because it would benefit the county by
does.
population instead of by ad
It does.
levy.
We worked per capita before,
Okay,
for a few years.
They change it frequently?
No, they changed it after 5 years, 3 or 4.
Hmm.
They did. We was rolling then.
Yeah, I mean, you can see population wise, we would get 4.6 or 6, 7%.
Yeah,
Figure that out
county
quick.
probably wouldn't want to lose
Yeah.
5% of their
Mm.
allocation that way, so.
ultimately, regardless of the decision you all make, the total budget operating
Stay the same.
will stay the same. Again, because we would just be adjusting those line items to ensure that we have a balanced budget.
Could, after the budget's passed, if there are savings found, we could certainly do a budget amendment to take less money out of the fund balance. For instance, if we get all LED lights, get rid of all the sodium vapor, high pressure mercury vapor, and that saves money on our street lighting.
Mhm.
$100, $200, $10,000. Cause, it's really a big savings once you get rid of those lights and put in LEDs. That would decrease the amount of money we would have to take. If we're saving money here, that's less money we have to spend. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that goes back to the budget to actual variance that we also try to build in as well, is that, from a practical perspective, if we don't need to borrow that money from fund balance, we're not going to borrow that money from fund balance. It's merely based off of the budget, we're projecting we would need to.
So we're projection.
It's a
So
projection.
we're not writing a check out of the fund balance and moving it over into our spending
Mhm.
account yet.
No, sir.
Correct.
We only cover what we haven't got.
Correct.
So,
And
Mhm.
in that projection is if everybody was to walk out and we had to pay out the vacation, that $48,000 of that number is that money. So you would not be liable for that unless that occurred. So,
you hear that? Nobody goes
400.
till death do us part.
right, that 400,000.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of, y'all wanna
Yeah,
play
uh-uh.
together.
Yes.
That's our next resolution is that.
You have one day and the keys in the door. Yeah.
So again, that's, yes, yeah, part of the personnel policy update, right? Is to ensure nobody can buy tickets together. Yeah, but ultimately, like, as I mentioned, if we don't need it, we don't need it.
Yeah.
It also, again, the budget is the conversation that you all have with the community. It's essentially our story for next year to the community. And so it depends on what story you all as council wish to tell to the community when it comes to both the property tax rate that's there and then also fund balance allocation and expectation.
Well, I think, we're to base it all on a bunch of speculation. And that's what you do. You give us your best educated guess. And it's conservative. I really don't have any, I just don't know that we need to raise the tax even a half a cent. Right now, I don't think it's a good time. I think that we wait and see what happens when the actual numbers come out. We plan to cover whatever we have to cover because we got to balance the budget. And then see if we can find some savings here and there, maybe by implementing LEDs, maybe. We talked about a council pay raise. Let's just take that off the table. I don't want to raise taxes and then give ourselves a raise, period. Even though that may be next year, we're only budgeting half of a year. And that's really a couple $1,000s, but yet, there's just the idea of, you pass the UDO, you raise our taxes, you give yourselves a raise. And I'm not doing it for an extra $10 a month. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna, that won't earn many Chick-fil-A points. So that's just my thoughts out there that I would be, hesitant to even half a penny right now. That's just my thoughts,
May I ask,
but
just,
it's stealing one's thunder or anything.
I apologize.
No,
Councilman,
go ahead.
I interrupt. I just want to check. The only other question that I think you all as council would like to have moving forward is whether or not there's any concerns with the LGC, Local Government Commission, around the projections that we provided before us? Is there anything from your experience that we need to be mindful of that would flag LGC? It's not going to be affecting our fund balance. We're not going to dip below our percentages, but is there anything else?
I mean, if we had projected and built this budget based on actuals that we had received, I think, that could raise a flag, but since we were conservative and used the local, the League of Municipalities adjustment and reduced it down from actuals, I don't think there would be a flag there. I think if we showed that we were gonna get $3 million and we got 1.5,
Yeah.
that I think would be a flag.
I'm always concerned. My job is always to make sure that the LGC doesn't come knocking on my door unless they just want to say hi while driving through. So that's why I just wanted to make sure we ask the question.
They're welcome to come. They just need to spend money while they're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go buy some barbecue down the road here. Yeah.
I would tend to agree. I don't know that we're budgeting conservatively and we're speculating. I would like to, it would be an easier sell for me to be like, oh, we didn't get all the FEMA money or, some like concrete thing happened in the year. And okay, now we need to make this up, not.
Well, and we can bring this allocation back to you next year once we have new rates and percentages and tell you what that looks like it can have, because it will have a trickle effect each year.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it may not affect us this year, but it may have an impact in 28, 29 if we don't do
Mhm.
something. to offset.
And aren't you saying Hendersonville hasn't decided yet? So
They have
technically,
not.
They're still going off of. We could do it and then be like, oh, we're still behind.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes. We won't know their decision until the 25th, until after the 25th.
So a cap on the values of the, so if we're at 17 cents, as new projects come online, we got some warehouses up here coming online. We've got other property I'm sure will be developed. So it's not the tax rate. As long as we keep the current tax rate and more money comes in that way, we're allowed to use that.
Yeah.
So, out of that $100,000, we may make up $10,000 with additional taxes as some of these projects come online. Right?
That's
Mhm.
true. And
There's
we
not so
got
much
an
reevaluation.
increased, levy today that actually would, increase that as well.
We do build in, as you saw, projections on what the potential growth
Mhm.
would be when it comes to,
Conservative
yes,
values.
of course, yes.
S-
And, I'll just say, as depending on what kind of commercial or industrial endeavors come in. So, warehouses will have certain amount of impact on property compared to, other types of industrial
Right.
as well. And, some more, some less. So it's really hard, obviously, to know what those actuals are. So that's why we bake in,
Yeah.
what we've seen from trends in the past and then a conservative look at trends in the past for the future.
We can definitely bring this back
Mhm.
next year once those new percentages are flushed out. Because that is not adjusted until the TR2s are submitted to Department of Revenue.
If it was $500,000, it'd be one thing, but at 100,000, that's might be able to see that get covered.
And this only changes when they change the tax rate, not when there's a reevaluation and you don't go to revenue neutral.
It changes when the ad valorem levy increases
Okay, so,
or decreases
okay, so it's fine.
to the total for the county.
Every time somebody changes their tax rate, it changes
It
Or-
changes the
where
percentage.
the sales tax gets distributed.
Yeah, it's almost like we have to compete with everyone else, be the first one to raise our taxes in order to gain. It's not a fun game to play.
Well, and hopefully some of our projects that we have scheduled into the budget's gonna come in under budget.
On time and under budget, right? It's always the goal.
I'm under budget.
So you don't actually need a modification of the budget. then, right? So what you're, if we decide as a council to pull from the fund reserves for that difference, then
Yeah,
that's an administrative change, right?
And the numbers we know for a fact right now don't include that $100,000 loss, correct?
Correct.
So if we don't modify anything, we just pass it as it has been presented. And we realize there's gonna be $100,000 loss because of that, then we're required to pass an amendment showing transfer from the fund balance back into the operating fund.
And you could do that.
Yeah, but typically we do all those as a tax amendment showing, yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the actual number is gonna be before we decide, what. And if that means we lose the opportunity to raise taxes half a penny or a penny or whatever, I'm fine with losing that opportunity this year.
Is that pretty much all of your presentation you got more?
So the next part is just, briefly just covering again the 5-year forecast. And what I'll just say generally is that the 5-year forecasting model would change, right? But we did run the projections. Again, these are all the operating margins, fund balance, everything else has stayed the same. Looking at inflation rates, property, tax growth rates, those assumptions on the way out. So nothing has changed since then. The projects that we have discussed so far have not changed. The timelines for new employees based off of those projects have not changed as well. Ultimately, what you see here, though, again, you're only passing the FY27 budget, right? We will be publishing this as a part of the strategic operating plan, though, because it does tell the story about where you all as council see the community and the organization moving forward. There will be adjustments that will be made to the 5-year projection just because of those, the percentage changes, right? So we will make those updates in the book. We do not touch, so the percentages of unrestricted fund balance or available fund balance, that number will go down slightly over the 5 years, but we have done the projections and they do not come down
They don't come
to
in
within
below.
any of the concerning range below 65%. So it is still above there, it's still going to be healthy, be good to go. But I just think it's helpful for you all to know that that one projection will adjust down the line.
So in your property tax evaluations, as it goes out year to year to year to year,
Mhm.
how, you just go back and look kind of the percentage that's been growing and kind of just keep that trend or, yeah, okay,
That's what we did.
okay.
But yeah, so that's the only thing I wanted to state about the modification. Again, you're not passing that tonight, you're passing the budget. But I would recommend that we update these numbers based off of that because we do have updated projections and I think it's helpful to show that. But I'm sorry, and all I would say is that this is the last one. If you do not if you wish to consider this more after this date, we do have June 25th as the backup.
Ever got any questions? Any questions? Any public comment? Any public comment?
Didn't know if it snuck in.
Crickets. Got anything else? I need a motion to close public hearing, please.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
I'll second it.
discussion on close. None, all in favor?
Aye.
None. Let's close, all right, discussion amongst yourselves.
I think there's too many variables right now. And I'd rather make a decision based upon fact than,
Oh, I mean, I'm with y'all. I don't foresee the need for a half cent right now. You know, I think we make it up somewhere else. We usually always come in pretty stout on them sales tax. What we budgeted, I know you tied that window up tremendously, but we got a little overrun from this following year. It's gonna kick in, so. It would have been gravy, but we'll just spend it. Give us a plug. Bill says anything to say, or any other questions or any discussion with yourselves, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposed budget as presented with those changes.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on this both before I call for a vote? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very none. All right, good job.
Thank you, all council. If I may, just, I want to thank Julie for all of her incredible hard work.
There's another step.
Oh,
Motion
When
to
we're
adopt.
done.
oh my goodness.
The big long
Man, I
guy.
told him I should put it.
Oh my goodness.
We need, the ordinance itself to be adopted as well as the resolutions. Continuing the capital reserve fund
Mhm.
and the 2 capital project funds for the, park expansion and the maintenance facility.
Probably jump all over that.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2026-10, the budget ordinance for fiscal year 2026-27, resolution 2026-11, a resolution to establish and maintain a capital reserve fund for future parks and recreation projects. Resolution 2026-12, a resolution to establish and maintain a capital reserve fund for town hall expansion. Ordinance 2026-12. Those resolutions, a capital project ordinance for Mills River Park expansion master plan. Ordinance 2026-11, a capital project ordinance for a park maintenance facility and upfit. And ordinance 2026-13, a special reserve fund ordinance for fines and forfeitures.
Okay, I got a motion. How about a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on it? Understand it. All in favor?
Aye.
You vote.
Now, may I say, I want to thank Julie for all of her incredible hard work this year, and I want to thank all the staff sitting behind me and that those in the office every day working on the budget. It's been 6 months of hard work, and I want to thank them, and I want to thank you all, council, for your direction.
Thank you. We'll put together.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. All right, discussion on our PO.
And I think this is something that I had talked to other council members about adding. I just wanted to get an update on where the state bill was and other options we could look at.
I was sent you, there was I was just looking at, letter was sent to the,
It was sent to the House and received.
and then the House, I think, will assign it to whatever that they order. I don't know that it has anything to do with finance. They'll send it to the House committee. Regular message received from the Senate. It's up there in the House now. It'll get assigned to a committee to look, once that shows up.
It was currently not on the 4 p.m. agenda for the House for assignment, and I have not seen it on the agenda for the House tomorrow, but again, anything could be added. But we'll keep monitoring it.
So once it gets assigned to a committee, at that point, the town could choose, we could go, if we want to set a delegation or something like that down there, we would have an opportunity to, whether it's public comment, however they do it, to address that committee.
So, yeah, yes, sir. So typically those meetings are open, obviously, and so they're for public meetings. And so at least typically what they do is that they'll say, once it's introduced, they'll see if anybody is there in the audience in reference to that, reference to that item. I don't know if they necessarily would allow anyone to speak at the time. I would have to look. Brian may have much more experience with that than I do, but at least at minimum, they tend to always ask if people are there in regards to that.
Yeah, the School of Government says they'll have a registration sheet that you can sign up. And they may do what we do here. We'll call names and allow you to speak.
How much notice would we have? 4.5 hours? 5 if I'm driving? Probably 3.5.
It depends on if you pull it out of manual. When you go.
Hey, you did that to yourself. I wasn't gonna mention it. Talking about me being a boring driver.
From what I've seen, and like I said, Brian, you correct me, what I have seen so far is that it's usually assigned to a committee on a day, and then it'll then be added to the calendar of that committee. And so I haven't typically seen them move so quickly on the same day as assigning it to a committee, having the time then to getting it to that committee and then passing. Even then, it would then have to come back to the House for required votes. So if I were saying it right now, if you were asking me what to expect, if it got assigned tomorrow, it would be probably the next committee, House committee, whichever committee that is, on the next day that they meet. Typically, I haven't seen them really meet that much on Thursdays and Fridays of the week. So again, if it's assigned tomorrow, which it being Wednesday, it could either be Thursday, again, if they're doing that, or potentially next week. Okay, don't hold me to that, but that's just looking at the trends over the last few weeks of how those assignments have gone.
Where are they at in their schedule? They're in their long session, but where are they at in it? Halfway? I don't know. Seems like it's coming to a head and then they'll have, I can't remember summer break and go back in the fall.
Yeah, so while Brian pulls that up, from my conversations, up there, it seems to be that they're trying to work towards a budget, and that and with that budget work being done, they're generally aiming around June 30th to be able to take the break. And so and I think that if that's the case, then you're not looking at until again once they come back from break on any action. Again, they can always move it, they can always change it, but I think June 30th is a solid date to work from.
Would there be an opportunity for the town to draft a letter to send to the people on the committee?
Yeah, it says that North Carolina is currently in its short session convened on April 1st, 2026, scheduled to run through August 31st.
About halfway, a little over halfway.
So the question is, is there an opportunity to submit? Nope, it's not. Right now.
Yeah.
Ask your question again.
Basically in effect of, if we send a letter to the House side or to the people who are on the committee who are going to be looking at this, basically stating, kind of what our process is, where we got to it from the exemption, how the exemption came into play. And then the fact that we spent over $200,000 based upon that exemption. And to the fact that there could be questionable constitutional amendments to
I think yes, have the absolute right to send a letter to your representatives that are on that subcommittee, depending on how it goes out, whether it's on your individual capacity or the capacity as the board in total, like the council decides to send a letter for everybody. So, but yes, I just can't tell you what the effectiveness and how much weight that subcommittee would give it, but I'm certain that it will get there. We would get it to the clerk for that subcommittee to be delivered to that subcommittee for consideration prior to their taking on that legislation.
so no letter carries no weight, right?
No letter carries no weight.
Right.
What about if we were able to go speak to the subcommittee or the committee? Would that have,
I think so. Even coming here, if you've got an email, how effective is that as opposed to someone coming and talking directly to you? I think that is far more effective than written correspondence, but written correspondence followed up by a visit might even be better. I mean,
I'd
And the
like to
reason-
include, go ahead.
The reason why I'm asking you is because let's just say that you know, an anonymous member of the community says, hey, if you guys want to go sue the state, I'll pay for it 100%. What is going to put you in the better position to defend the town of Mills River?
Yeah. Um. What's gonna put me in a better position to defend the town? How do we make it more defensible?
Not necessarily. I'm just saying, would you be worried if let's just say, me and Jeff go down there and we have a moment lapse and we're like, and we say something that's gonna,
No, I would not mind that at all. I don't
So-
think the, I mean, the legislative history is gonna be what it's gonna be, and the legislators are gonna make their determinations, and they're gonna put on the record why they think they need to vote the way that they do. And let's say that someone says, we want to pull that provision of Senate Bill 1074 about Mills River off because of something that you all said. Hopefully what you said would be truthful.
well, we're going to rely
of
on you. for
course.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, you know, if I go down and read numbers and, you know, I took the opportunity to look back at the votes from last year and look at the correspondence I've had. And, you know, when you look at the voting totals out of 7,821 votes cast, 3,649 were cast for the top two candidates who ran on platforms to keep Mills River rural. Add to that, Mr. Foster, who did the same. That's a little bit more. And, you know, if we had those, right now we're at about 63.8% of the votes were cast for candidates who put out their platform was to keep the town rural. So we feel like, you know, the voters gave us a mandate when we got here, and that's what we're reacting to. Also, the numbers of the emails that I've gotten, 33 for, 11 against, people that spoke in here, 21 for, 7 against, that's a 3-1 margin. The fact that no one ever shows up to advocate for something, people only show up for the most of the time against something. And the 3-1 margin for is pretty telling. And getting those numbers in front of a committee who may not be aware that those numbers exist. It's not just 4 rogue council members. If 4 people can be rogue, you know, trying to push this on Mills River, it's that overwhelmingly the voters and then the public comment and the correspondence is in favor of it. We have, you know, we determine who we're going to represent. So I would love the opportunity to get that read into the record down there and present it to the committee members. Maybe there's a chance they'll say, well, you know what?
You're gonna do that. Motion. I wanted a motion for that.
Mhm.
yeah, if you're asking for it to be
If you
from
wanna do it
council,
individually, I
Mhm.
don't care.
that's right.
Care, but if you want it read in from
Mhm.
council, I don't get that.
So what would have the better effect? Is that something council would be interested in? Having us go make the case in front of the committee, which would mean that, you know, we would have to commit, whoever goes would have to commit, take the time to get down there and to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and that, from my perspective, that's not really a legal issue. That
Mhm.
comes down to, do you think you as a citizen who happens to be on town council would have as much sway as opposed to you as a representative of the council?
Mhm.
It may be 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I just don't know. I don't know who's going to be on the committee, who's going to pay attention to it. Certainly it wouldn't hurt if you went down there as a representative of the town council giving those numbers. But if you went down there as a citizen who is on town council and said that same thing, it may be it may not amount to any difference for the subcommittee who's hearing it. I can't tell you that.
Sure. Yeah, as a member of the body, I don't necessarily speak for the body unless the body empowers me to speak.
And I think that the mayor said it correctly. I
Mhm.
think if that was the
Mhm.
case,
That's
there would
right.
have to be motion, deliberation, and a vote, because it would mean that we as a town council, yep.
Our
Yeah.
speaker.
It would also, just from the administrative side, it would be, there is a difference between council acting on a motion and then therefore requesting resources, time and energy from staff compared to an individual council member requesting to do so. So that would be just another perspective to think about.
I don't think like a letter's a bad idea. And then if you want to go speak, yeah. I maybe would be hesitant that we're getting off into the weeds a little bit about the, election stats. That was a year ago. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of it as them sitting down there going, okay, well, did you run on the exact platform of like, hey, this UDO is coming and this is what's going to happen?
So it's probably a bigger impact of the people that showed up to speak and the people that contacted us.
And I think
Yeah.
to me, it's the whole process. It wasn't
your
like
call.
we just, as a council, made a decision to do this on our own. This was 2 years of public input processes. I mean, we went through all the public hearings. I mean, so there was, it was a full process. It was not it
Yeah.
was not something that council initiated and did on their own.
I would feel better if that was the stats, like there was X number of hours of open doors and people who came.
And it would
all
help
the
us to
meetings.
have the stats for people that came in requesting a change, who got the change. Because that number is overwhelming compared to those that weren't able to get a change, like,
I
a
don't know
question.
that all that's charted now. You gotta be careful. I don't know. I asked for it, and I don't know that I've seen that man write anything down, so you gotta be careful with that. I mean, he just told me that we'll just get to it around later. Just you'll be able to ask later, so you gotta be careful how you word that stuff.
Well, I'm just asking, if that.
Well, and I think
that
that's-
Information's there.
I think
like
that's the
that.
case. If we're worried about the way it's worded, then it needs to come from the town.
That's what I'm saying. It's gotta be fair. I mean, just fair. If you're gonna send it, let's just send it fair and
Well,
where
then
it's
let's,
understandable. And if you're gonna put stats in it, just make sure they're accurate, because they can be challenged. Man, this man, the defenders, I mean, they can be challenged. You throw any one number there, it ain't right. Be challenged a lot easier than just, man, hey, this is what we like. Would love to have it.
so if we make a motion for the town to develop a draft of a letter, is that something that do we have to meet again to approve that, or is it something that you can do through consensus to formulate the letter after we make the motion to do it this way?
Man, I'd want to see the letter.
Oh, well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
we'll pass it to each other, but obviously our next meeting's not for 2 weeks, so we don't have the opportunity to wait 2 weeks to see the letter. So if you guys work this week to draft a letter and then send it to Jeff and say, hey, is there anything you want to add or take away from this? Shannon, is there anything you want to add, take away from this? And then you get that direction to develop an overall document.
I mean, you just have to be careful. Any email communications that a majority of the board all in one is
Correct.
a public meeting and, I think though that you'd have to make sure, if the motion was that you wanted to do it, and you can do that tonight, or you don't have to. But you'd have to have some clear guidance on what is going to be in the letter. Is there going to be any veiled threats about the unconstitutionality of it? Is there going to be, or are you just going to give factual basis for a reason to have them consider removing Mills River from that proposed legislation?
Yeah, and that would be a part, I'm sorry, Brian, that
Go
would be, I try my best never to interrupt an attorney. That would be a part of the motion as well, because it would be basically outlining what the expectations are. To Councilmember Kimball's point, I mean, personally, I would feel more comfortable from a staff perspective that knowing that you all have seen it, that there's a formal approval process of the letter. Because again, this is coming from council on council's behalf. This is not a staff initiated action. Would an email, let's just say that I essentially distribute whatever is written based off the guidance that is provided, that and working together, that then getting email correspondence of agree or disagree individually from council, essentially stating that they've received it, that they have seen it, that they acknowledge that there is, and then have provided their individual thoughts on whether to move forward with it or not. Would that be, that individual formal written documentation be a consensus enough to move forward, or would we need to come here?
No, I think that would be a consensus enough to move forward, but I don't know
Yeah.
how different the consensus between all the board members is going to be. And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if there is something from the council tonight that they want to consider, that would need to probably be fairly specific
Yeah.
on what needs to be in the letter. And I don't remember who said it, but like, how many open hours of meetings did you have, and the number of people that attended? But Mayor, maybe we don't have those numbers.
I don't know. I don't know. I just, if we're gonna send anything, let's send it as truthful as we possibly can. So,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so again, if council wishes to go this route, staff, we can get together and talk through what we can provide. All right, again, we know what meetings we had, we know the times that we had. When it gets to specifics, I don't want to say whether or not we have it here. We would need time to pull that together for you all. If that's what you all would like, then I do think that there would have to be some subsequent conversations then about what is necessary to go in that letter. If council wishes to forego those specifics to be more broad in the sense of, we had, countless types of public meetings. We had input from across, like those kinds of statements. There's potentially more flexibility there just because we don't have to go back and do our research on it, because generally we know that we had public forums, we had, turnouts for those. There were public engagement opportunities, those types of things. So you all get to help dictate that.
I would like to see how many meetings we had, how many hours of of office hours we had, how many people participated, showed up, signed in. I mean, Chad should have those. He should have that stuff because that's part of the deal. I mean, if you don't keep records of who shows up.
Yeah.
There you go. So, how many hours, how many people came in during office hours? I'm sure everyone that came in, you wrote it down. You probably know who asked for what, if you can give it or not. You're awesome. I mean, that's great. I mean, I think those kind of numbers will help make the case that we worked with people. We spent the hours.
what to do with that? No, it's just, they're, correct.
I expect to be a day or two.
It's how we can legally move through the system without getting ourselves ethically in trouble,
Mhm.
okay? Without coming back and having another special call meeting just to move this letter along.
And you could do that in 2x2 meetings. Matt could have whatever, flip a coin, whoever wants to come in a morning session and then the other in an afternoon session, as
Mhm,
long as
good
it's
idea.
not two. I would rather have it in-person meeting with Matt as opposed to putting all of this in email, because you never know who's gonna forward it on to whom, and
Yep.
and it is so much cleaner to have the conversation a half an hour. These are the numbers that we got. How would you want it presented? We'll talk to Councilmember Gooden more in the afternoons, the mayor midday, and then the balance the next morning,
The
and get it all
professor and Mary
together and
Ann.
mush it all up.
And the rest.
Yeah.
So by consensus, before we get
Gillies.
further, who wants a letter?
I do.
I do.
Anybody else want a letter?
Yeah, I want a letter that is more detailed, I would not want to see a generic letter.
Yes.
Just that would be.
You got 3 per letter. Okay.
Well, also, I don't want to see a threatening letter sent to them. I mean, if you want to go threaten to sue them as a council member, you can go ahead, but I don't think as the town, that's what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
Nobody's threatening to sue, but I think we do have a due diligence to mention that, to say, we question the constitutionality of it. You can say that and that's not a threat.
And we're sure we got a leg to stand on that. Cause I was
There-
told,
there's nothing that you can be sure of, right?
I was told that
That's a
we do
true
that all the
threat.
time, you know?
So the courts want to uphold all legislation. And it is only determined to be unconstitutional when it violates a specific provision of the North Carolina Constitution. And when you look at those certain provisions, you can make an argument and say, yes, I see where a court or a court of appeals or a judge can make a determination. But is that a guarantee? Not at all. So to say something, you know, you mention the constitutionality of it under a specific provision of the Constitution. You're not saying, we, the town, think that this is unconstitutional. You can just point them to that direction. And say, we've got the authority under 160A 74 to adopt ordinances to protect the health, safety, and welfare. You know, under a local bill can't regulate health and abatement of nuisances. And you wouldn't want to make the threat to say, we think you're doing that,
Right.
because that would be the one next step that would be almost a threat.
Correct.
But you can lead that horse.
So you would say something to the effect that we have these, granted in the state constitution, we have these, these things we can do.
Granted, under the statutory
allowed to do-
scheme,
We're allowed to take these actions, and we feel that these were, this was in keeping with this and our guidance in the bill that was passed to tell us that we could continue to be the other. Something like
yes, if that's
We're
the
basically,
direction that you
we just
want to-
basically want to say we were acting in good faith based on what we,
based on the facts that we want to put in.
Right.
Right? I mean, I think Councilmember Cantrell, you said you want specific facts. I think it depends on what those facts are, is how we can weave it into.
I
the
would
author-
just like to see, there was X number of open forums, not just there was a plethora of open forums, or, we spent a lot of money. No, we spent 200 and whatever,
instead of lots of people showed up, we want to say 350
Correct.
people showed
because
up.
I don't want to sugarcoat it the other way either,
Mhm.
because you could assume then, oh, wow, they had a gymnasium packed with, 3,500 people. Well, that's also not the case too. So,
I don't know how Brian feels about this. I do feel that if that is the direction the council would like to go, there still may be statements of, approximately or, over, like those types of statements, just because, there is the potential of, us missing, a signature or something, or miscounting, just slightly. So we can be more specific. We can be much more specific than the general statement, Councilmember Cantrell, you were mentioning. I just wanted to make sure that also we were, not locking ourselves into, like, unless we can lock ourselves in, that there may be some approximation, but we would clearly state that within a letter. Is there any concern about that from your end?
No, no. You know how many open meetings that you had where you invited people, so that could be right. But maybe.
I
not
think we just
everybody
don't want it to
wanted
say there was a bunch of people here.
Right.
No, I just wanted to make sure when we're talking about what specifics will look like,
Yeah.
we still, there will still be some approximation on some items.
And all this is assuming we got time to write it and send it. Cause if it's on committee Thursday morning, we may not have time for this.
how many mailers went out? We should know that number.
Again, as
How many
a,
times do mailers go out too? Send them out twice, send them out, whatever.
so there is there's a opportunity to the committee, to our representatives. As a reminder, we don't know what the timeline is yet. However, it would have to go to the House at some point as well for a potential vote. So there is a committee discussion, but there would then have to be, subsequent votes within the House as a whole. So, I'm not suggesting that you would want to send it to everybody in the House. I'm just stating that there are other opportunities.
It's not a law until it's passed by both chambers.
It's signed.
Thank you.
Make sure that letter reflects that I was a no vote. It's not unanimous,
Mhm.
to be fair. I oppose this letter. Sure, it's in there. Gotta represent the ones that don't like it. Where I'm at.
You want your position against the letter in the letter.
Yeah, I mean, no.
That's not, we act as a board though. Come on now.
Huh?
Yeah,
We act as
yeah.
a board. We're not gonna do that. We act as a board.
Air the
I mean,
vote.
I was against the 4-lane thing, but I didn't go to Raleigh or go down to DOT and say, hey, I want y'all to know I voted against this and by gosh, y'all better do it. I mean, that's not,
I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you, as a group, as y'all here, I'm opposed to this letter.
sure.
But I think, in fact, it needs to be on if we're gonna send a letter,
Mhm.
that it needs to be that it was 4-1.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with saying the
Okay,
vote.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, y'all voted to send a letter. I'm not in argument of that. I'm
Right.
just saying, just between us, I'm opposed to this letter.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. is that what
I,
I'm
under- I,
saying? Yeah,
interpret-
don't
I
want it in
understand
there.
what you're saying. You wanted to end a letter that you were against the letter.
Just
that's-
let y'all know. that
that's
I'm
fine.
opposed to this
Yes.
letter going out.
Do you see harm coming out of this letter?
No harm can come out of this letter. It's just gonna be, there's no harm comes out of this letter. It's just gonna be, you are picking sides with those that are down there. Just like, we're right here. Hello. Just like we're picking sides, just so y'all know that ABC decision affected this tax rate. But that's how much I'm in politics and y'all may not be. Y'all gotta realize that there's a lot of intermingling that happens in this politic world. They're gonna get that, you know what I'm saying? They control your destiny when you're down here low. You have to play along some. You just don't wanna be overrun. And that's why we got him, one of the best in the country. We don't wanna be overrun, but we have to, there's give and take. I'm gonna tell you what I feel like their argument is gonna be. It's not gonna be against us personally. It's gonna be because they feel like that they're gonna get an onslaught of other municipalities wanting to downzone as well. With us getting the only exemption. That's what I'm hearing. I'll just be honest with you.
Well, no, and I feel like they will.
They're gonna they feel like they're just gonna spend the whole next session dealing with that from every municipality that wants to do anything different. They won't be all of them.
No.
They'll just be a big handful. But they're afraid that we get the golden ticket, that they're gonna be tried to get something from others. That's just where I think they're at with it, from what I'm hearing from 4 or 5 of them.
And I'm sure that is the case, but I think, but then that's also motivation for them to actually do something about the downzoning mess that they created versus just letting it sit there.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And I've got information on that too. I can't double check, but I do have information on that. Personally.
Well, I
It's
think,
not a quick hill, but it's a
No.
good hint, you know what I mean?
well, I think the overwhelming majority of people are for it. And, we choose who we represent. And, I appreciate that not everyone's for it. And, not everyone is going to gain. I'm not going to gain. I'm personally being downzoned. My land is going from, smaller lots to bigger lots. I'm not going to fight it because I wouldn't fight it and have other people not fight it. So, I gain nothing from this except trying my best to keep Mills River, keep Mills River as rural as possible. And so I'm willing, even if it's just on my own, if they would allow me to drive down there and give my thoughts. And say I'm not representing town council. I'm representing me and my constituents. I'm willing to do that. Town doesn't have to pay for it.
And that,
Hopefully the gas will be cheaper.
yeah, and I think for me, it's also about, for me, it's not whether you're pro UDO or against the UDO. I think we all agree what happened the other night is the way that local land use decisions should be made.
Here.
They should not be made in Raleigh. And that's the scary trend, is that they're not wanting that, and they get a lot of money from groups, and I get it, that's the way the system works. But at the same point in time, the process that we did, the way we did it, and, getting people in here, discussing it. And it's a living doc, it's going to continue to change, So, I mean, that's a thing that is best suited for local government.
And that's why, even though I was a no vote, y'all not heard a word out of me, because that's just democracy. I mean, that's just the way it works.
Right,
It's the majority, and it's the way it works. I mean, I've been on both sides of that.
Sure.
So I'm not offended by it. It's just, I represent the other guys.
Right.
Yeah, however many there are, I represent the other guys.
And that's pretty close to the way it worked out. I mean, it was 3-1, 4. It was 4-1, 4, when you look at it. So that's pretty much lines up with the statistics,
Yeah. I have reached out to for your benefit, I have reached out to the tax assessor's office and asked if there's I was trying to get an idea of going into this budget meeting, looking out future years, if there was any 3-acre developments in Henderson County. There is none. I told him, I said, well, get ready. There's going to be some eventually if this UDO holds to the state level. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, well, last night we voted to take all of town to 1.5 acres lot size, with the exemption of however many acres, and I didn't know. The 3-acre lot size. He said, 3-acre lot size. I said, yep. He says, well, you've got your biggest lots out there are in the farm right now. They're selling for $240 to $255. He said, your typical 3-acre lot in Mills River, I would feel would sell for $350 to $400. So you just need to tell your manager to budget accordingly in the future, because there's going to be somewhat of a reduced land value based on that. I was just trying to see if it, we don't know, because we don't know what's coming. We don't know how many's coming. But he said the same 3/4 acre lot size, typically out here is like, I think he said 93,000. But he said that would basically take a 3-acre lot to almost 400. He said that would be realistic, but if you develop the farm and had 3-acre lot size in it, they won't bring $1 billion. He said they would never evaluate yourself at $1 billion unless something crazy happened. So I don't know.
Yeah,
But just from a budget.
but that doesn't really take into account the house that goes on that lot.
Oh, no.
So someone who's
If you buy
buying a
3-acre
3-acre lot, they're not putting a $200,000 house on it.
No. And I mean, honestly, being honest Indian here, it'll put me out of business working in Mills River with my license limitation of only 750,000. You can't build a house on 8.5 or 3 acres and be under 750 for the total project.
Do you say you can buy land for $95,000 an acre in Mills River?
I need 3-something.
Well, I'd like to know what
No,
land he's
that's
talking.
3/4 acre.
3/4 acres, yeah.
Then,
It does, I mean, it hurts the idea of affordable housing, but we don't allow apartments. I don't think anyone wants apartments. We're not going to have affordable housing, new affordable housing. We're going to have single family homes or townhomes. And, we heard about the rent points on that. So, it's hard to get affordable housing under the current zoning. I'm not seeing,
No, that's impossible.
let's talk about some of the houses that are being built now. They're not what we would consider affordable under current zoning. And, so anyway, I keep going back to, I have yet to talk to any person who says current zoning is working. And, they love it. I love this current zoning. I've never had anyone say that. They're all, it's crazy. Mills River's crazy. So the development is just going wild.
Well, just driving around looking at stuff, you see stuff and you think, oh my gosh, I mean, that new warehouse.
Do you have enough direction?
I don't know if they do. You got,
Yeah, I'm
I
not
would-
sure
yeah,
where we
yeah.
landed on this.
So what I would ask is if this letter is coming from council that, and requesting it from us and from Brian, to have it in a motion that, with the specifics, that have been laid out, which Patty has been taking copious notes. But including, you know, specific statistics around meetings, hours, the cost, timeline, about the mailers that went out, the number of times those mailers went out. Also, reflecting the language of the UDO exemption. That wasn't mentioned, but I'm assuming that that would be a part of that, just because that's the exemption piece. But then the, also referencing the authority granted to the town under 160A, to protect health. Again, not as, you know, again, not in a threatening manner, in a manner of stating a fact that that is in existence for municipalities, that authority exists. Trying to think, I'm looking up for
And
Brian to
we-
make sure.
I mean, no, that authority does exist, and then the provision of that, article 2,
The constitutional, yeah,
that just says no local bill shall regulate health.
Yeah.
And abatement of nuisances, which is exactly what the legislation in 160 allows you to do by adopting ordinances. To protect the health, safety, welfare of abatement nuisances.
we would also put in there the date of the UDO passage as well as the vote. Total of 4-1, on there as well. And so would you, and so the one thing clarification I would ask is, Mayor, because you were the one, nay vote on that, would it be 4-1? With the mayor voting no, or is it 4-1 vote enough for that?
however you wanna do it. I don't know that you need to throw the mayor thing out there. I'm humbled enough not to worry about that. When it's up here, it's really just one vote.
Understood. I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly.
Yeah, but, go ahead.
Well, those are the elements that I have to be building into a draft. And
Do-
so if there was I would ask if that's the case of the council to move for a motion with those caveats in place for that, so that Brian and I can start working together and staff working together on that draft to then, you know, get something and bring it forward, and which we could work through the logistics later of 2-on-1 meetings or something like that to move quickly.
Does that need to be a part of the motion, the 2-on-2, or?
No, it wouldn't be. We would
Okay.
work to get that consensus.
So I make a motion that staff drafts a letter that addresses the stats for the UDO, the meetings, hours, timeline, mailers, cost, et cetera. The UDO exemption language, 160A authority, Article 2 Constitution, and the date UDO passage in the vote.
And I'll second that, with the hopeful, the guidance that we as a council felt like we were acting within those authorities granted to the town. I don't know if that's worth adding in good faith. I don't know. Write it up however you think. But otherwise, I'm seconding his. I just wanted to add that in,
We're amending the motion.
amending the motion just to add language to the effect that we were acting in good faith with the authority that the Constitution, if you mention the Constitution,
You're
basically,
Yeah, it's not that you're acting in reliance on the Constitution. It would probably be the enabling statutes that allow you to pass ordinances to regulate.
is that reasonable?
That's.
Reasonable to add?
I think Councilman
'Cause-
Kimball, that's pretty much what you said.
That's what you said. Uh-huh.
You're the lawyer. If you say that, if you say that's what I said, I guess that's what I said.
just we were acting in accordance with the enabling statute. Basically, we're not just going rogue.
Yep, yep, we could definitely put in. Got that.
Yeah, one other thing, if this thing does go into play, we're gonna have to somehow or another work on some kind of hardship variance or something. So you take, for instance, in my world, I was looking at having to modify my house within 28 days of bringing my wife home from the rehabilitation center. With these, all these houses that's sitting in these less than acre and a half lot sizes or sitting in a less than 3 acre lot sizes and not being able to go get a zoning permit or building permit to add on to their house, I would have been in a mess. But see, I was gonna have to, extend the deck, put in a handicap ramp, all of which takes building permit, and or put in an elevator, whatever, I'd have been. And the doctors give me 28 days to get this done, because that's as long as they could keep her at the rehabilitation place after brain surgery. So if it happened to Shannon Gotts, it's gonna happen to, possibly happen to some more people than that 8,000 people we represent. So I'm just saying, I don't know, that gives me a little, I don't know if there's anything we can do.
We don't, is there anything in the current ordinance?
For a hardship.
Found
like that.
hardships.
Yeah.
Well, see, it's like, well,
For ADA accessibility,
no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you own a house, y'all listen, I don't think y'all heard this other night. And I asked it 4 or 5 different times. If you own a house, Sandra, for instance, she don't own an acre and a half or more where she lives. So she can't ever add on to her house unless she comes and asks for a variance, staff approval, or has to be non-conforming. Now that non-conforming is okay. You could use that in this deal, but you're setting yourself up for a disaster if you ever have to sell it or anything. Because I've talked to several realtors, and a non-conforming lot is automatically gonna deduct off what your value of your land is worth. Property is worth. If title search catches, you won't be able to borrow that money, but title searches usually don't catch those. Can't get a 30-year mortgage or mortgages on a non-conforming property if they catch it.
yeah. So is that, okay, is that dealing with this letter? I mean, we can.
No,
Okay.
no. I'm just,
So,
I thought that's
yeah,
a done.
And
deal.
I'd love to talk, no, we haven't passed that.
We haven't voted on it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're.
Okay,
So
so, because I do want to talk about this.
first and a second,
Got a first and a second.
any more discussion on this letter?
I want to make sure that we see the different drafts of the letter, not draft one and then this is what was sent.
Sure.
Okay? Does that
Uh,
make sense?
The expectation is that whatever draft we put together, then you all would be seeing that draft, and whatever would go to the state would be what
guess-
you all have by
I'm
consensus.
just
have
saying
seen.
like, oh, I already had my 2-on-2.
Yeah.
And then-
Yes, his theory is
Oh.
it's gonna change as it gets.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, no, yeah.
So then you share it with all of us.
Yeah, no, we would work through iterations for that from my perspective, whatever goes to the state, everyone has seen that version and provided either a yay or nay on that before moving.
As long as it's not as we're being CC'd on it.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way.
Well,
Yeah.
it can't be CC. It's gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be able to see.
I do understand that concern. That would
Okay.
not be happening.
Thank you.
Need a revisit. Honestly, it could present a revisit for you. Okay, so any more discussion on the letter? You're done, all in favor? Any opposed? One, me.
Now, to the idea of people finding themselves non-conforming in somehow, some way, that, the folks in the mobile home park that had the lots that are currently non-conforming, I don't want to leave them out in the cold. And I think that this being a living document, if it stands,
Understand, it's not only those people. Once this
Okay.
passes, if
Right.
everybody acre and a half, or it's an acre and a half, 3 acres, where it's 3 acres.
So
Just gotta understand it. It's
for,
big.
for things that are related to accessibility, such as an elevator, such as a ramp, things like that, we should be able to exempt that. I mean, there's no reasonable person that would say you can't make your house accessible. No reasonable, I don't think there's a reasonable expectation that you not be allowed to do that. And if it takes us putting that in the code to say, just like we have exemptions for agriculture, we could have exemptions for repairs, upfits, alterations related to accessibility. And I think that would.
No, I think
don't
it's,
know how to put
I
that
think
in
it's an
motion.
excellent point because it doesn't exist now in our code. So it's not a
But-
problem with the UDO.
Uh-uh,
It's just a difference in
Something that we.
effect.
We need
So,
to make sure that that's always available.
right.
We're all one broke leg from needing a ramp, you know? And that's why I always say accessible is ethical. We need to make sure that what we do is accessible.
But because it's not in there right now, you don't need to come ask for it. If we put it in there and say you need to come ask to not have to ask, then you still are back to the same problem of having to ask. If we leave it out, then it's just still not an issue.
Just so
I'm
we
getting
make
it,
sure that,
right?
yeah, that people don't think that they're one broken leg away from being non-conforming. You know, we don't want.
I guess maybe it's another discussion where we learn more about it. Cause
Mm.
I don't feel like I know enough
I
about
don't
what.
know either.
And I don't
Maybe we
want,
just need to get staff to, or Mike.
I don't
to-
want someone,
Using my example is what if?
if someone's in a 12x60 single wide and that gets destroyed and they have to replace it, and the smallest thing gets a 14x70, I don't want that to be an issue. Just, you know, it's a
Well,
single
and
module,
what I
single
want to
module.
say is, and I'm not sure, we've got our special meeting with an agenda of 2 matters. We did one and we've got the discussion on UDO implementation.
Implementation.
I mean, is that, yeah, we're getting a little,
Honestly,
a little far away from what we call this special meeting for, and we have to stick to that.
Brian's got to be the
What's that funny looking last word?
Sure.
Speaking of the UDO implementation, the letter was discussed. I would, again, if council wishes to do this, if there's direction to want to go down as a delegation to the committee, et cetera, I would also ask that that would be a motion because it would be, again, a delegation on behalf of the town versus an individual going down to the town. So I just don't want to miss an opportunity. If that's what you all are looking for, that we get clear guidance on that as well. Well, we're
I don't
looking
know.
around.
Um,
But no, it just, we talked about going down there, but town staff, resources, and also speaking officially for the town, I would say should require a motion of that action. If not, it would be an individual action to go down there.
I don't have enough information to make that decision this time. For me. Unless,
I mean, to go represent the town, I think that would require us to make that a motion.
Yeah.
To go represent our individual thoughts as a council member and what we were thinking at the time, placed our vote, I think we could just do that. I think that, and just be real careful, but what do y'all think? Do you wanna get a,
I think the only difference is Matt can't drive us, is what he's saying.
okay,
Ed
then,
could fly it. He can get you there.
just give me a ride from the airport. So, yeah, and get us a flight to Raleigh. We 3 people. So.
If 3 of us go though, or 4 of us or 5 of us,
Council.
you're gonna have to
member-wise,
advertise it. We're gonna need to let you know.
Yeah, there would still be an advertisement required. I mean,
Well,
that,
I don't know. Do we have to do that if we go to Raleigh, as long as we don't ride together and we don't?
I mean, not every
Yeah.
time you all get together, in a group of 5, you can go to a
If we go to a picnic,
picnic. And if you're not talking about official business, then it wouldn't necessarily, there's more to it than that. But if you're not talking about official business, then it's not necessarily a council meeting that has to be advertised. But I would think going to Raleigh and there's 3 of you saying something, that's real close to official business.
Absolutely.
So if that comes to fruition, then we would just need to get the town vote.
Advertising.
But
Well,
if it
I have to
doesn't,
ask
I-
off a month in advance, so I can't go. Cause y'all are talking about going soon, right?
Whenever it goes in front of committee, we don't know. I mean, if it's, yeah, it's a hardship for me, but I'll take it. You know, I'm very fortunate to have flexibility and I think, you know, some flexibility. I think I could go Thursday. I'd go tomorrow if I had to. Just don't tell anyone if I happen to be sick. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that.
I would just be careful to make sure that we're, how you said it, you're an individual. Who happens to be on town council?
Voter and council member, not
Because,
speaking.
because
for
I
the
do think
council.
that
Mhm.
that could look a little bit like, oh, maybe these guys are going a little rogue.
Well, do you want to do it as a? I mean, do you want to do it as a town thing or no?
I want to see this letter first.
And we would be going basically to present the letter. Not just to go, I mean, if that's the case, then it takes off the table a long flowery speech that would win hearts and minds that, you know, I would be planning sometime on the road down.
I would look at Brian on this one, but I think if you walk in there and you present the letter, then you are represented now. So you would need to have,
Correct,
you would need a motion to,
correct.
or that will be challenged from some individuals within inside this town. Just trying to look after everybody, make sure you dot your i's and cross your t's. Please, please.
If you go. That is correct. If you were to go down there and read the letter verbatim, that is town council business. If you're going down there, they've got the letter and you're going to advocate for those same numbers, town council
Yeah.
business.
Yeah,
Right, that's where we would authorize that through a vote.
Yes,
But if the letter's presented and I go down and say, I'm Jeff Moore, I am a member of town council, I voted in the affirmative and here's my reasoning. To where I don't reference this, I just give my reason for voting in the affirmative. You know,
yep, as a
and
resident of
passionately.
the town of Mills River in the state of North Carolina, you can go down there and advocate your position.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add about it is, you know, from the official delegation piece, just like when we officially went prior to with Mayor Johnson, Councilmember Kimball down there, there was a position and there were individual meetings. And so that would be the other thing. Again, right now we're talking about going to whatever committee it's assigned to. It's just whether or not you all would be wanting to do any of those actions on behalf of the town, or if you all, again, would be doing that as an individual trying to have. Again, I'm not saying you need to have meetings. I'm just saying like those are also some of the nuances that exist between going as an individual versus going at the behalf, on behalf of the town, and given that direction.
And that's something would have to be a vote, not just through
Mhm.
consensus.
Yeah, yes, that would have to be a vote, just like.
So we got to decide.
And we can
that.
wait to see the letter.
Yeah.
That
But
was,
then that would mean a special call meeting to determine if we,
again, I don't, yeah.
because
Yeah,
we need to do that in person. We don't need to.
Mhm.
I mean, there is a scenario where the letter takes longer to get done, drafted and through than it getting assigned to a committee day. Because again, there are just so many things that we just don't know. And so that's really where the conversation is. They can be combined, as a letter and going down there individually or as a delegation. but there's a real world where it could be separated out just because of the timing that the House may look and say, hey, we're gonna sign this tomorrow, for instance, right? We're not gonna have the letter done in the morning, right? That's reality.
It sounds like we're riding, I mean, we're splitting hairs over going as. It's too close if we go as individuals to lap over as to representing the town. So I'd be in favor of just making the motion that if more than two people go down there, then they're going as a delegation to town.
If it have to, there's more than two.
Can you make it as a motion?
And that motion would allow the people that go to speak for the town based on the letter that's being written and 4-1 vote, talk about, we're speaking, town council has authorized us to come speak for the town.
For me, the
But-
more critical thing is that that gives us the ability to meet with the representatives. If we don't have that coverage,
You just get public comment.
we're just, so to me, it's at least we give, if we go as a delegation, then we do give them the opportunity. They may come to us and say, hey, I'll work with you on this, but this is my concern. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Then at least
I'd
it
love
gives
to
that
have
conversation an
To
opportunity.
have a conversation, absolutely. I'll second that motion.
But then in public, if you're down there and it's in the meeting and you're in your public comment, then just read the letter.
Yes.
Yeah. I
That
agree.
takes away a lot of flexibility about what we say,
I agree.
because we're down there to represent,
Yeah.
and it would be a spokesperson that's chosen. It wouldn't be,
I
All
would
of
be
us
fine with
read
that
this.
as long as it's reading the letter that we all agreed to.
and answer
Can't, as
questions.
James said.
If I can get it in this letter, get everybody to agree to it.
So I've got a motion to, if a delegation of 3 or more.
Two or more.
Two or more.
2 or more,
Two or more.
2 or more, go to Raleigh to represent the town on this UDO matter. Then one would be chosen to read the letter
And answer questions.
and answer any questions that's, okay, that good?
Sounds good. Yep.
You like it? Any more discussion on that?
And a second,
And or meet with representatives. too.
and or meet with representatives, yeah.
And the ability to meet individually with the representatives, might want to put that in there.
So that means if 2 council members and a staff member goes, that's 3.
But
It's not 3
No.
council members.
biggest thing we're covering here is the ability to represent the town or not. If 2 goes, they can get up there and talk free willy about their own personal idea without needing this letter. But if some reason 3 are going to go out of the 5 or 5 wanted to go, we need this letter.
I think it's
And-
two or more.
Yeah.
Two
I-
Two or
If you go
Uh,
down there, if you go in any two, it's not a
Okay.
meeting, but you then are limited to reading the letter. If Councilmember
Okay.
Board just
Alright.
wanted to go down there and nobody else did and say what he wanted to say, it's not
I got you.
Well-
limited at all.
Well, let's look at it this way. In order for me to go represent the town, or for Brian to go represent the town, we need this motion allowing us, so I would say even, not even 2 or more, I would just say a member of town council, because that way we're representing the town. Does that make sense?
And then you're limited to reading the letter.
Limited to reading the letter and
Still
answering
meet with
questions. and meeting
representatives
yeah.
to answer questions.
So you're,
Yeah.
you're basically hamstringing yourself that you can't go down, Councilmember Moore, and say anything to anybody other than the letter.
Because the only way for me to represent the town, or for any of us to represent the town, is to be empowered by this board to represent the town. That makes sense?
I think we can answer. I'm not gonna meet with Balcom and be like, the town administrator said.
No, but
We can answer questions.
we can answer
right?
questions. But I just want to be sure that
I'm lost on what your
So,
motion is.
the idea of this is that somebody's going,
Or, go ahead. Matt.
May I, Brian, because this is one, and again, I'm not recommending this. I'm looking at Brian to help me with this. Hypothetically, let's just take this situation out. In any case, any situation, if you make it 2, if you say two or more, right? Then you could have two pairs of two, right? Speaking on behalf of the town, meeting individually with representatives, as we've discussed, representing potentially differing opinions on or different thoughts on behalf of officially of the town, right? So I'm thinking that can get itself a little bit complicated because on a 5-member board, you could have you could have two sets of two going down there and when they speak individually could have diametrically opposed views on behalf of the town's position. So are you all looking for that? Or are you looking for the town has a position? And therefore,
The
moving
position is in that
forward,
letter.
if the position is the letter, then whomever goes on that delegation, are you holding them to representing what is within that letter, even individually within those conversations with those representatives? That's the issue. I mean,
While you're in the public comment portion, read the letter.
Yeah.
When you're meeting privately, like you guys have done before,
Mhm.
then no, then you look silly to read a letter and walk out of an office.
But the position would still be of the town that's within that letter. That's what I'm saying. Like I said, I'm trying to remove it from this particular situation because the vote was 4-1, but hypothetically, if you had a 3-2 vote.
But that's fine. If the mayor wants to go, then it would be the position of the town that it was 4-1 and he could
Understood. I just want to make sure we were
totally
comfortable with it.
it's right.
I think as
stand
long
there
as
and say,
everybody sticks to the facts,
Yeah,
I mean, they can ask questions about the hours, hey, Councilman Kemper, did you go to any of the town hall or town workshops? I mean, you're still representing a town.
I think if the town through the letter is gonna take an official position,
Yes,
that needs to be the position of the town when they appear in front of that subcommittee to make their statements.
correct. I think we're all in agreement on that. So let's flip that page.
Okay,
All right. And then now we're saying if you meet with a representative one-on-one.
I still think the position of the town needs to be set. It needs to be the same. You can't have the mayor go down and say, this is my position. And Kimball, you go down and say, this is mine. And Councilmember Good, you go down and say, this is mine. That would be very, very, very difficult and rogue, to use your word, to have 5 different town
Opinions.
positions just because we're going down there on one. To Matt's point earlier, if you wanted to do a delegation, then you could in your motion say the 2 people going down talking to the committee members would be, you name who they are so that we know what the town's position is as expressed through them. I mean, it is, this motion is horrible. We're gonna have to clean it up.
Well, how about we just
And I don't
withdraw
know
it?
that we've got, I thought it was fine at first and now,
Well, the whole idea is if we represent the town, we represent the town, not ourselves at that point.
but taking it down to one gives you
Uh-huh.
5 different positions.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure if only one person can go, we're still representing the town. We're authorized to go represent the town. Because I just don't feel like me can represent the town
If
unless
you-
I'm authorized by the board.
See,
Just
but-
like I represent the town at not at the MPO anymore, but at the regional council because I've been empowered to represent the town. And I don't want to go to Raleigh and say, yeah, I represent the town of Mills River when y'all haven't voted to give me that option.
That's why I think the 2 or more going down to represent the position of the town is good. If you want to go down as an individual citizen
Mhm.
and say something to anybody, you by
I've got
yourself,
the
you
right.
can do it. But your motion to say, I want it to be one person would prevent you from doing it.
Yeah.
If anybody on town council went down there by themselves, they could
Gotcha.
only do the position of the town. And to Matt's point, because there's 5 people and you could have 2 on 2 go down there, if there's going to be, and I said, no, we don't need to make it specific as to who would go down there. because I just don't think we do. But if you want to make sure that the town's position is spoken through a specific mouthpiece, then you should identify who the two,
In the motion.
yeah.
Okay, so let me
Just leave
amend
it
my
two or
motion.
more.
So, or let me clarify my motion. So the motion is to allow a delegation team to go to Raleigh to represent the town on behalf of what is contained in the letter that gets presented.
You want to declare a spokesperson at this time or?
I would, because we don't know who,
We don't know
I'd be
who's
afraid to, yeah.
Okay, I'll second that.
So in that motion, we do have that only one of the team will be speaking or reading the letter or to the committee. We don't want them all, do we want them all getting up and talking?
I don't think we would. I wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that.
We
Okay.
choose
Yeah.
whichever one wants to do it.
Yeah.
Whoever goes.
The delegation spokesperson.
Yeah.
Time.
I just don't know if it needs to be in the motion or not.
I don't know that it needs to be in the motion. The motion was made and it was second.
Okay, I got
So-
The simpler the better. I
It's-
mean,
it's not in the motion.
I apologize for trying to make
Any-
it complicated.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Any opposed?
I don't see any other business, so can we just go straight to adjourn? I make a motion to adjourn.
second. Okay.